Welcome to Practically Political. I'm Dave Spencer.
And I'm Carrie Sheffield.
All right, Carrie. Well, I'll tell you, I think all the Democrats in this land are going, whew, we dodged a bullet. What was going to be supposedly a red tsunami ended up being not a wave, but a ripple. So I'm very curious to get your thoughts on many things, so much to talk about. But first of all, with the midterms over, obviously a couple of races aren't decided, particularly Arizona and Nevada, which will determine, and Georgia, which will determine the Senate. But it was very clear that President Trump's picks did not do very well. Ron DeSantis steamrolled to victory in Florida. So I'm curious to get your take on how is this going to affect how people pledge their allegiance to 24 candidates, and just your overall take on the 24 midterms. 22 midterms.
Yes. Dave, it certainly was a momentous day. I'm glad we're having this episode. Also, I'm glad, just as a sidebar, that you said Nevada. It's the correct way, not Nevada, as some politicians like to go in and say it wrong. Good job. I think it's important, though, when we're talking about this question of a red wave, to look at the context of 2020, because you had significant growth among House Republicans. So there was actually less room to grow in 2022 when it comes to the victories. And so that's important to keep in mind, because Joe Biden had he had negative coattails. So he barely eked into office, and yet his party eroded in 2020 in the House. So that's important to think about when we're talking about the context of what happened with Republicans. And the Republicans flipped the House control for only the third time since, I believe, 1959. So you're talking about a couple generations. So it was historic in that way. And I have heard some people make the joke that, the red wave is actually waving goodbye to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So that's a very powerful red wave right there. And then you have the fact that Congressman Maloney up in New York, he was the head of the Democratic Campaign Committee, all House Democrats, and he got an embarrassing loss. So that's significant. So yes, I think as a conservative, I'd like to have a bigger margin of conservatives in the House, and would like to see a more decisive margin to get conservative policy through. But I think it was a clear rejection of sole party control of all, House, Senate, and the White House. And so the good thing is that you're going to have a stop and a check on the recklessness of the Joe Biden White House. So there's that. And then your other piece on 2024, I think it remains to be seen. At the end of the day, I am all about the policy. I'm all about focusing on who's going to be able to, comparatively speaking, progressive or conservative policy. And I think whoever wins the Republican primary is more likely to be able to do that. I think if I were advising President Trump, I would say to him, if you're planning to declare, do not do it now. I would wait till after the special election and pour all of your energy into what's happening down in Georgia. That would be my advice.
Well, I would say I think that's putting the best possible face on it. If I had to gestate to as few words as I could, what the American public said about this midterm is that we don't like Democrats, but we don't trust Republicans. And in other words, we don't like Democratic policies, but we don't trust Republicans with power. And I think that's, frankly, a pretty fair assessment as someone who calls them as he sees them and is fair and criticizes both sides. I think the American public pretty much got it right. And it looks like the House majority is going to be 222 to 213, which is a majority, but it is going to make life absolutely miserable for Kevin McCarthy. Of course, we can go through some personal highlights. Lauren Boebert was behind by 73 votes the last time I checked. But if she goes down, that will be especially sweet, because she is, along with Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene, really out there with some of the nuttiest of the nut jobs.
Last I heard, she was eking out.
Maybe she will. Maybe she will. I don't know, but it's still it's a good thing. So, I think that the Dems should breathe a sigh of relief, but certainly it's no chance to be cocky. And the Senate is still up. But again, it just goes to show you candidate quality matters. If David McCormick had been the nominee instead of Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, I don't think there's any doubt that the GOP wins that race easily. I think if they have a good candidate in Arizona, not Blake Masters, who said that we shouldn't even have entered World War II, I think they win that race. So there's no question, once again, that all these people did was kiss Donald Trump's ring. Now, some of them, like J.D. Vance in Ohio, won, but Ohio is pretty much a red state. And I think the bright spot, obviously, for the GOP was in Florida. Florida is no longer a swing state. I think Val Demings was a solid candidate against Marco Rubio, but he thrashed her. But a lot of other states were very, very disappointing. They were able to, the GOP were able to flip three seats in Ohio. Huge thing of the Democrats were. So look, it's a very disappointing night for the Dems based on what they wanted. And again, I think it's just a wake-up call. Move past Donald Trump, please. Because this is what, once again, I just don't understand it. The only time you could argue he won, I would argue Hillary lost. Okay, he was twice impeached, lost the popular vote twice, lost the House, first president since Hoover to lose the House, Senate, and the White House. His candidates are losers. I guess there's a cult thing, but if this is not finally a chance to move past him, please, I don't know what is. Your thoughts? You just seem hesitant to finally say, can we move past Donald Trump? And I don't know why you're so hesitant to say that.
Well, I work for a 501c3, so I can't endorse or reject a candidate. So that's part of it. But I also, again, to me, it's really about policy. And, as president, President Trump did a lot of wonderful policies that really greatly benefit the American people. And his victory
we can debate that.
Well,
but
yeah,
I'm talking about what he's done in terms of getting people elected, in terms of getting himself elected. Except for that first election against the worst candidate ever, and Hillary lost more than he won, he's failed at every turn. So
he also delivered the House and the Senate in 2016. So it wasn't just the White House. And it was because of that Senate turnover is why we had the Supreme Court that we have today, which is why we have the protection of innocent human life that we have today.
And I
think that's part of why.
Well, not 2016. The Democrats won 8 seats in 2014. That's when the Senate was delivered.
That's true. No,
Trump had nothing to do with that.
That was Joni Ernst. You're right. She was the one who flipped it, which I loved.
It was a lot of things.
It was supposed to be the war on women election, and then the person who flipped the Senate to the Republicans was the first female combat senator in the Senate, which I thought was a rich irony. No, but I'm saying, but he delivered.
Pigs.
That's right. Make him squeal. Yes. No, but he helped strengthen the Republicans' position. But anyway, that's in the past.